There was another multiple time B2B CMO that came on and she said, today's brand is tomorrow's demand.
Yes.
I know, I love that too. I was like, oh, I'm gonna write that down. I talk about it all the time. And I shared that with I don't know how many CROs. And I want to get their opinion on that too. Every single one of them. I have never shared that with a CRO who didn't violently agree because they know 95% of the market's not in the market right now. But if we start talking to them when they're in market, then we've already lost the game.
Yeah.
They probably don't know who we are. We love to all represent brands that are household names. That's not true for 99% of us. We've got to earn our right into the short list. And if we don't, and we're not there in advance before they get serious, then we're left out of the equation. And she went on to say that it also the salespeople have to build up the trusted advisor role.
Yeah.
We can't just be vendors selling. And if we do the branding right, then that cycles that we take away from the sales team and building up trust that is really valuable during that time. I love what you're talking about in terms of kind of this balance and thinking about next year. And I think there's a lot of CMOs that don't do a good job of communicating its importance all the way through like LinkedIn Edelman trust barometers that say, hey, a lack of thought leadership today is a detriment in the sales cycle.
Yeah.
A lack of it means that's a demerit point against us. There's plenty of stuff that we can do to build up the argument. Like, look, we got to be doing both of this at the same time. But here's my question for you. There's a perception out there that if I do brand building, that's a separate activity, a separate set of resources that I have to dedicate that take away from building short-term pipeline. And I know you and I talked about this before, that we don't have that point of view. There's a lot that we can be doing that builds overall our brand and our pipeline at the same time. And I'd just like to hear your point of view on that.
Yeah. Today's brands, tomorrow's demand, spot on, right? I strongly believe in that. As you said, if you don't know the brand, like it's just like in the phone, right? If you're getting a phone call and it shows spam risk, or it's not in your contact, you're not going to pick up. I mean, it's happens to all of us every day. Three phone calls just came in for me. But I think it's the exact same thing for prospects, the prospect journey that we all try to warm and nurture and warm the doormat for sales, right? That's the typical process. It all boils down again to some simple basics, which is the funnel. You cannot have the funnel without awareness. What's top of the funnel? You have awareness, consideration, and decision. You can't just plop a lead at the bottom of the funnel and you know how it's going to go. They're not going to be the right lead. They may not be warm enough. And you're just creating an unnecessary lead. This is the number game. Sometimes CMOs get pressured to say, well, you need to generate this amount of MQL and this amount of pipeline. And then people start getting pressured to play different games, right? I'm not saying everybody's doing that, but if you're not doing it, our team members are, right? In some form. It's really thinking about if you're being honest and if you think about go to market broadly in a comprehensive manner, the funnel is a simple way of everybody understanding is if you don't have top of the funnel, anything that just gets inserted in the middle is not going to have the same return. You need to go through the process. We can speed up the nurture process from awareness, consideration to decision, but it needs to happen in some form. That's my point of view. That's something that I instituted in every place I went is, yes, it's a hard job, like trying to sell to the board or even to your CEO or CFO, right? When you think about budget and how you want to allocate budget. But I think for the right leadership team and the right board, people understand, people are starting to get it, right? I mean, nobody wants to engage with spam caller. And it's the same for anybody like us trying to engage a prospect when they have no idea who you are. That's just simple basics that every organization should institute. Now, depending on how much money you have, you can certainly get a little creative about how you combine awareness and middle of the funnel a little bit, tofu and mofu, but it does require some thought process. It's not just going to drop in one day as a hand raiser and you convert them, right?
Yeah,
It's
not at all. Especially these days where we all know that the buyer journey is changing quite dramatically and they want to wait longer and longer to even talk to us. What it means is they're determining who they trust. They're determining the brands in the marketplace that when they're making big decisions, and B2B buyers make decisions much more emotionally than they do rationally. That's been proven. They're taking big risk. And you're not going to take a big risk in your career by going with a company that you don't know and you don't trust. You're just not, right?
Exactly. Sorry, I'm going to add another piece to this because there's another aspect of what's happening for all of us is the switch from SEO to GEO, right? Generative engine optimization, which is the Chat GPT generated uh, SEO, right? Think of it that way. So even more, and I know this is your favorite topic too, is this notion of owned media transitioning into earned media, where we really want to build a brand presence where people are engaging, where our brand is known and people are talking about it, people are including or mentioning us, and really building brand authority is the way where ChatGPT or Perplexity or all these other generative tools are really using to pull in the right content. I use Gemini or any of the GPTs that we have on a regular basis. That's going to be a transition. So if you're not there, if you're not being mentioned, just our owned media alone is not going to cut it anymore. Brand becomes even more important in the age of GPTs and LLMs.